Ready?
Yep.
Yeah. Good evening and welcome to the special meeting of council. It's Tuesday, November the 4th, 2025, 6:30 PM, and I will call this meeting to order. Remind members of any disclosures of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Seeing none noted. We'll move right on to section 3, reports to council, and it's report TR 1925 by Lauren James, treasurer, regarding the 2026 to 2035 capital budget draft. Mr. James.
Good evening, your worship, members of council. Before you is our 2026 to 2035 capital budget. This capital budget incorporates our asset management plan and financial strategy, our recent financial water plan that we approved, our roads need study, which was updated end of last year, as long as our bridge and culvert study, and will include updates in future years, both including our facility audit and our storm sewer assessments, which is noted in our capital budget to come up for renewal. This is a 10-year budget, similar to what we've done prior years. Also for council consideration will be on January the 6th, will be the operating budget, which will present for 2 years, and that'll be posted in the early part of December. Just like in the past, this budget consultation followed the same outline schedule. We've allowed additional public comment up until October the 29th, which is in the public comments as well as the addendum. Similar methodology to the previous capital budgets. Couple notes to highlight. This is the first year that we do not have a Project Ojibwe transfer or a debt payment. So you do not see that in our capital budgets. As noted in the historical capital levy, we have actually increased our capital levy considerably every year. And this year we have $168,250 increase over our 25 tax capital levy. This budget also incorporates heavy utilization of OSIF, gas tax, and other reserves. You'll see that throughout the report tonight. It also includes the recent asset management plan that council adopted this past summer with prescribed targets, and as well as indexing and floor and allocating both gas tax and OSIF for tangible capital asset replacement and rehabilitation. Recommendations were included in then, and council recalls those. Also it notes what is considered tax supported core assets and non-tax supported core assets, as well as rate user paid assets as well, which are our water and our wastewater assets. Right now, if we had to replace our capital assets, we have a book of 171 million in infrastructure. Of that infrastructure, 119 is tax supported and 51.7 is rate supported. Again, these are similar charts that we had in our AMP, so they're just to remind council what our targets are and what do we need to strive to meet our AMP targets. As council recalls, the AMP will have an annual report every year on how our assessment is going forward. We still have a current infrastructure backlog, which today is 42 million, which is comprised of the stormwater network in village of Port Burwell. In addition, there is some road and rehabilitation that is in the backlog as well. That represents our current backlog as well as our future asset replacement aging as well. In addition, we're still waiting on the status of the Port Burwell secondary system rehabilitation of the water line of the 7 kilometers, and that grant application is still outstanding. This past year, the municipality implemented development charges, both for previously had for water and wastewater. And now we have development charges for roads, fire services, parks, and recreation. That'll help fund any future capital growth and the pro rata that relates to rehab and growth in any of our future assets. For illustrative purposes, the 2026 to 2035 tax capital levy is outlined. As you see, there's still some smoothing that needs to be required in the illustration point view, but we're trending up towards a $4 million tax levy at the end of the 10-year cycle for capital tax levy. game methodology for a capital budget is to protect fair to good assets, extend useful life as far as we can, replace when needed, apply for grants accordingly, and divest when needed. At this time, I'm gonna pass it over to the CEO, who can talk about the public comments received from the public.
Thank you, Lauren. So before we get to public comments, I'm going to take council through some of the capital budget resolutions that council has passed this year. So the July 30th meeting, council received the draft asset management plan financial strategy and passed a resolution that consideration be made as part of the annual budgeting process to ensure capital funding is available to implement the financial strategy. This resolution was mirrored on September the 4th when council did adopt the financial strategy for the AMP. Two other resolutions passed by council have capital components. So the first was on August the 21st in regards to report TR 1725 from the treasurer regarding the mid-year parkland dedication and cash in lieu of parkland report. That resolution was that further discussion on capital items PR 9 and PR 10 be referred to the capital budget discussions. These items are the Richmond and Eden pavilions respectively. And the second resolution is also from the August 21st meeting and deals with a resolution from recommendations from the Waterfront Advisory Committee, specifically that discussions on PR 06, which is the electric charging station, be referred to capital budget deliberations. So with that, Mr. Mayor, those are the capital budget resolutions. If council wishes to discuss any of those three items identified, council can do that now or can wait until the Parks and Rec budget comes up for further discussion.
Okay, council, I'm going to ask you what your preference is. Would you like to discuss any of these items right now or when we venture into more detail through the various departments? Okay. I do have a question, if we can back up, Lauren, to your table on the summary 2026-2035 capital summary 2035. Is that number supposed to be 346,000?
It is, council, that's the number we currently have.
All right.
Generally, we focus on 1 to 2 years immediate
Right.
focus, 3 to 5, more of a place, and then we look at 5 or 6 to 10 on life cycle.
Yep.
That number will fill in. Capital levy will index accordingly. So we're likely running up to a $4 million tax capital levy at the end of the 10-year cycle based on what we need to maintain our AMP
Or more.
or more.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. Thomas, carry on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next set of comments that I'll make are in regards to the capital budget consultation results. Annually, we append these to the report that comes forward to council, and the staff go through general themes that are received. So there are a few themes that I want to flag that came up in comments. First, in general, is the SCC. Now, recognizing that a number of these comments came forward before the SCC decision was made, the SCC has already been approved by council. This was done on October the 9th, and staff are carrying that forward with a formal agreement to come for bylaw and approval. However, we have had a kickoff meeting with the contractor, which went really well last week, and we'll keep you posted. But looking close to the end of the month, we're probably going to start mobilizing and getting that rolling. So we're looking forward to that. Another set of comments received in general was about the lighthouse. So the lighthouse you'll see in the capital budget is still grant contingent. There are some moving pieces with the lighthouse that we can't come public with at this time, but will when we have the opportunity to do so. A couple of the comments spoke to having the municipality do the work on the tax levy in 2026. It's worth noting that the project, based upon estimates that council has received, would be about $1.5 million in 2026 on the levy. And if we assume about $70,000 to a levy point, you'd be looking at adding 21.4% to the levy in 2026. So taxes would increase across the municipality by 21% if we were to do this on the levy. And since council gave direction on October the 16th for a target of 1.9, I don't believe that 21% is palatable. However, council can direct otherwise once we get to that item. In regards to some of the other items received, so again, comments about mobility mats. This is a budget item grant contingent as PR 13, as we've had in previous years. And there's a couple of comments that came in regarding road work. So there was a comment about moving light line up in the budget. It's currently in the budget as a 2030 item. Staff have reviewed this and note that it fits within the timeline as this is a multi-year project and have no concerns with where it's currently cited in the budget. We did receive a number of comments regarding chute line and how it's very narrow. Expanding the road would be very, very costly. The costs for expansion and upgrade to a proper road allowance are not currently included in the budget. Chute line generally operates as a farm road. There's a lot of farm infrastructure that use it. And there's no consideration in the budget at this time to upgrade that road any further. A couple of comments about playground equipment in general. So comments about playground equipment at the beach or near the beach. Council will recall that this item regarding playground equipment at the beach has returned multiple times and has been added to the budget and removed from the budget and is currently not included in the budget. Comments about a walking track at the Vienna Community Park. This is something that is not contemplated in the 10-year capital plan at this time. And general comments about infrastructure in Port Burwell. So just reiterating what the treasurer mentioned, that we do have a couple of joint grant applications out, one at the federal level and one at the provincial level for the Port Burwell area secondary water supply system for 7-kilometer stretch. We are waiting on word from the granting agencies on both of those. We do have our fingers crossed. Have received some comments regarding gravel roads and upkeep should be a priority. Capital item PW 19 covers gravel road upgrades as part of an annual program. We have a gravel program for that. So staff identify the needs operationally when needed and uses capital item to fund it. A couple of the other comments are about some enhancements to the Vienna Memorial Park. None are considered at this time. The comments received are generally for things like playground equipment and splash pad, which has come up multiple previous budgets and is not currently accounted for in this draft. And finally, a few comments here regarding Plank Road and signage. Plank Road is a county road, so this would not be something that Bayham takes on. And then, comments about not spending money on certain things such as sidewalks. We do have an annual sidewalk program as part of our, commitment to improve accessibility around the community. So that is something that annually we try to allocate approximately $100,000 for. And council will note in the budget that it is very core infrastructure heavy. The majority of the core infrastructure that we have happens to be in Ward 1 in Vienna and Port Burwell. We have the water system, we have the wastewater plant, and we have our drainage systems. So most of the items in this budget are directed to that ward because of their density of core infrastructure. With that, Mr. Mayor, that's the majority of the comments. The only thing I will flag from the addendum is there a comment about the Vienna Community Infrastructure Reserve Fund. These are the monies that came out of the net proceeds of the VCC sale and were allocated to a reserve fund for Vienna. Discussion at that time attempted to focus use of those funds into core infrastructure because of the need in the area. And to date, we've used a lot of the funds for a number of projects that are non-core. So multi-use court, pavilion, canoe and kayak launch. I just flag it for council and we recommend that the majority or all of the remaining funds be, set aside for core infrastructure need in that community because it is something that will be pressing in the future years. So, Mr. Mayor, again, I'll leave that with you and council for any questions you might have.
All right, thank you, Thomas. Any questions on any of the comments received? Okay. All right, Thomas, thank you for that, and thank you for responding to them. Lauren, back over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to give everyone who's following at home placeholder so we can follow along. Back on the first page of the agenda for tonight, there is a hyperlink latest budget agenda. Please click on that link, whoever, if you're following at home, or if you're watching this later on the live, off than the replay. That's the document that we'll be working off from this point on for the budget control document. Your worship, members of council, the first 13 pages of the document in front of you is the annual summary sheets for each of the capital spending. They're just the aggregate totals of each of the years. First sheet being the reflective summary of the 10 years, and then from 2026 to 2035. If council has any questions on the summary sheets, we can. If not, we can go right to the first department out of the gate, general government.
Okay. On the summary, is there anything, or should we get right into the departments? I think there's better clarity in the departments. Okay.
So everyone following home in front of council, page 14. So that's general government 2026. Really, there's one item of procurement and 3 reserve transfers. Council computer replacement, because next year is a new council year, for 10,000 being paid out of the working capital reserve. And then we have 3 transfers to the liability reserve, working capital, and election reserve. As council is aware, next year is an election year. Hence why the 60,000 is being utilized out of the election reserve to pay for the election. We still have the rate stabilization reserve, and we still have a closing balance of working capital. Any questions for 2025 general? See none.
That's 2026, Jim.
Yep, 2026, sorry.
Thank you.
I'll just give you a high level on 27, and then if council has any questions on any of the later years in general, we can go to those. 27, we have the review for the market analysis, the strat plan update again, and then our 3 reserve transfers: liability, working capital, and election. That's pretty much it for 27. The first 2 do not require staff report for procurement in 26 for 27, so they will come on the agenda early in 27 for procurement.
Any questions? Seeing none.
Council's choice if they want to look at the rest of general government from 28 to 35, but it mostly follows those 3 reserve transfers as well as the Silico 4 and 5-year replacement studies and council computers, as well as general government replacement of IT equipment.
So 2030 is about the first procurement for council computers.
Website update in 28. 30 council computers, DC review. The market review again back in 31, as well as the strat plan. 33, market analysis and website update. And then some council replacement computers in 34.
Okay, let's just pause for a moment.
Yes.
Okay, any questions?
Council's all good?
I think so. Let's move on.
So let's move to page 25, fire 2026. As council recalls, we had set up annual fire equipment reserve transfers. In 2026, we do not require it because of the SCBA's will move forward in 25. So in that year, we have procurement for bunker gear, Taker 1 replacement, which is council has already approved. The radio reserve, which again, council has already approved and already existing. You have the thermal imaging cameras, and you have the portable radios.
Warren, can you remind us, have we ordered thermal imaging cameras or the radios?
See that question again, Richard?
Have we approved the last 2 items, the imaging cameras and the radios?
We have not, your worship.
Okay, so
That will come in early January.
pending. All right. Any other questions on 2026 for fire? Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a clarification. just looking for clarification on the difference between the system, the radio system versus the portables. Is the radio system where they dock? No. Oh, yeah.
Please, Harry.
Worship, answer, Deputy Answer. Worship, it's part of the county radio system. It is our part
the
of
county
the
one, right.
30,
Yep.
we're putting a reserve in for about $1 million over
Yeah.
the 4 years to replace the radios. Towers in the system itself.
Our financial contribution.
It's
Okay,
Our financial contribution.
right.
That's with our 7 partners.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, just a supplementary then. So the portable radios that we're looking at for 2026 are to replace the existing ones that are just within Bayham.
Our equipment.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions on 26? Let's highlight 27. Please.
27, we have bunker gear equipment again. We have a 400K equipment reserve transfer to get the reserve back up for future procurement years coming up. We have the radio reserve, system reserve, which is as indicated with our shared partners. Ice rock rescue suits, fire hose replacement, thermal imaging cameras, which is a multi-year, and portable radios, which is a multi-year.
Okay. Through either you or the chief, how many imaging cameras are you looking at trying to get over time?
Worship, that's probably one.
They're $7,500 a piece,
If
Or
the
the
previous
$1,500.
band that we used to have were 13,000,
so there's 15,000 a piece. Okay.
Oh.
And you're
3,500 piece, your worship. In
okay.
today's day and age, your worship, every car fire should have at least 2 thermal cameras just to enter that scene.
Yeah.
So these are, and it proved its usefulness on a fire this weekend. Thank you.
So at the end of say 2028, you're hoping to have 5. All right, thank you. Any other questions from council on 2027 fire equipment? All right, I'm seeing none. Lauren, quickly through 28 onward is
28, we have the pickup truck, which is asset replacement, gain bunker gear, multi-year. Ice rescue system, multi-year, fire hose replacement, multi-year. Our existing radio system reserve with our community partners. Thermal imaging cameras will gain multi-year, and the portable radios, which is multiple years. So we're just stretching these procurements over multiple years and
Mhm.
lining up procurement. I'll do 29 as well. Now we get to Pupper 2, 1 million. Bunker gear, ice rescue equipment, fire hose replacement again. Portable radios and our existing radio system reserve, which is coming to the last year of our financial commitment with our partners in 2029. And our commitment is $210,000. 30, again, we got some equipment reserve transfer, again, to get the reserve back up for future rolling stock replacement because of the life cycle, bunker gear, ice rescue equipment, fire hose, and portable radios. Gain further equipment reserve transfer in 31. Bunker gear and radios again for asset license replacement. Bunker gear again, tanker 2 replacement $1 million in 32. Extraction tools coming up for life cycle replacement in 32 for 60K. Fire hose replacement for 14, and existing portable radios. Again, you get a trend, we're doing every year as an asset year falls off, procurement every year. So that way it's continual procurement and procurement lines up. 33, bunker gear again, fire hose replacements, portable radios. 34, bunker gear and fire hose radios again. 35, bunker gear and radios. But as council will indicate, we start to get high and then we start to roll off. So that's what I was indicating, opening, that we have a bit of a smoothing. As you saw, there was a big spike. So it'd be important in those future years to backfill any reserves of levy to bring those numbers down in later years to control the tax levy base. That is the one thing with fire equipment and rolling stock equipment in public works. You can have wild procurement spikes and all of a sudden you're out $3 million of equipment. And that's your capital for the year.
Right, thank you. Any questions for the fire budget? Moving on.
Okay, your worship, the only item identified in building is the building and bylaw truck in 2027. It is a placeholder. It might be pushed back to 2029. We're gonna look at the life cycle as well as the current odometer and useful life.
So at this point, it's again, just in 2027, that's a placeholder.
Your
Going
worship
back
and
to
3 members of
26.
council, we're likely gonna try to line up when needed, as well as any other vehicle procurement that we have throughout the municipality and try to tag it as one procurement lot.
Anything else in building over the 10-year plan?
There's no other capital in building or bylaw to replace or procure.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the building bylaw side, or capital procurement? Seeing none. Brings us to Public Works.
Page 47, everyone following home as well as council in front. So bridge and culvert next year, best line culvert, 50K tax levy. Equipment, so we have 2 tandems, 540 each, which council has already approved crew procurement. They're gonna be landing right at the end of 26. One of them might roll into 27, but they're there because they might be delivered in fiscal 26. And then we have 27,000 for the mower. And the road construction side, we got the following projects: Murray Road, tax levy; Shoot Line, tax levy; the gravel program, tax levy; Carson Line, which will be OSIF; North Street, tax levy. And then we have sidewalks, road signs, guardrails. And then we have 2 studies that need to be performed next year: the climate risk assessment, the pre-engineering for the Port Royal stormwater to bring the study up to date for current costings, modeling, sizing, and other. The bridge and culvert inspection, and then we have our 2 operational capital programs, which we've continued through previous years, which is our roadside brushing and our hill management. Council will note that there is 1 reserve that is not utilized in this reserve, which is our federal gas tax. I am waiting on to see what our closing federal gas tax balance is by the time I bring the operating. So one of the items I'll be bringing to the operating floor might be consideration of using some of the federal gas tax next year to help bring down the tax capital levy to help meet council's target of 1.9% or less.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions on the Public Works capital plan for 26? Steve, what is the current life of the your current mower?
Are we there?
Through your worship, the members of council, the mower that's proposed in the budget is the side mower. That's the mower you see running up and down the road. So currently we have a contractor. The model we're using right now is a 2006. So it's actually done very well, but again, we're trying to bring this in-house so we can get away from the contracting for this item.
What was the other name that they called that? Like the Tiger?
No, the Tiger's the arm. This is just the rotary mower on the side.
Just the head?
This is just, no, this is when we do just the roadside. So the 2 meter that's required in the RMA agreement, the county road maintenance agreement. This is the big flat one with the rotary, not the arm.
Just the head.
In 2027, I believe, is the actual Tiger mower with the tractor.
That's
For
the
2020.
big one.
That's the big one.
Okay, so
This is just the rear mower.
the 2006 model you got.
Yes, it was bought with the tractor. This model, or this one.
Getting pretty poor, is it?
This one's getting pretty poor. That's why we've disconnected it or discontinued it a few years ago when we brought in a contractor because and time and labor. So
So from an analysis point of view, does it make more sense to have this in stock and have Public Works do it or have it contracted?
Yes, that's correct. I've done the analysis now, and with the contracting costs
All right.
across the county, we even looked across the county to procure this. We've now, most of the municipalities you're gonna see in 2026, they're gonna be moving in-house with this. As currently we're around 23,000 a year to do this mowing. Generally, our tractor runs, I have one operator that runs it all the time between the beach, shoulder grading and brushing. So we added, if we could just do it, it could increase the service level slightly. We get a third cut instead of just 2 cuts we get with the contractor. And then Malahide's running a $60,000 invoice right now for their contractor. So we're going to be going to contract next year for this service. And this could see a huge difference in cost. So we get 10 years out of this mower. I think, you know, if it requires in the future seasonal operator, then I think it's well worth it.
Okay. Follow up from council? Anybody? Okay, seeing none, then let's move on then with the 27th.
So the 27 bridge and culvert, Van Order culvert, and the Best Line culvert. Big one is the Best Line. It's a $500,000 project. Steve will likely have some pre-engineering work done with streets in 26 for this. So we will operationalize that money as well as utilize a bit of the gas tax reserve for some of that pre-work. Equipment that year, we had the tractor and the brusher at 300K, pickup truck for 60, another pickup truck for 100, another pickup for 60, the vac and the tandem. As council asked in your worship about the bylaw truck, this is kind of that sweet spot of where we're going to do a public works vehicle. So kind of look at what we can procure together to aggressively buy together and saving across multiple equipment. Road construction for the year, Green Line 250, Baynor 400K, Bogus 80K. Our existing gravel program at 215, Carson at 300, and the cover over and the pavement are sealing of James Line for 50K. Other projects in that year, we have the sidewalks, road signs, which is an annual program, guardrails, our communication tower at 75K. Phase 1C, the Port Borough storm sewer, as outlined in the previous year, we had 26. We're gonna have some additional work done next year for studies in that to determine what is our next step for the storm sewer. As well as hoping that there'll be federal and provincial grant applications to apply to. As council where we were unsuccessful twice with 2 rounds of DMF, the first time being runner-up and the second time not meeting the climatology requirements. So that's why we have that in our 26 capital. And we have our existing hillside and roadside brushing. Basically, the biggest takeaway here is we do have a healthy projected gas tax in OSIF. So there's, again, some additional maneuvering for council in the 27 capital for public works on top of some additional maneuvering in 26 for those 2 reserves. So what I'm suggesting to council is we need to meet our capital requirements in 26 and 27, but maybe to keep the tax levy controllable, maybe a bit more utilization of 2 reserves to keep the tax levy within council's target.
Okay, does anyone have any questions regarding the 2027 placeholders? What I want to call them placeholders at this point.
They're very much your worship. The only items on here that might be out for procurement, and Steve can speak to those if Steve wants to come up here for a second on the equipment ones. He'll identify which ones will likely have a 26 staff report for procurement. Again, stuff are still anywhere from 12 months to 18 months behind. So Steve outlined which of the capital project codes will likely have staff report in 26.
Yeah, thanks. Just to clear one other thing up, Lauren touched on it, the Best Line culvert, 500,000, 2026, there's 50,000. That's for the engineering for it. So this would be phase 2 on year 2. So yes, the pickup trucks, we're replacing technically 2 half tons and one ton. One's a 2007, the other's a 2011, and the third is a 2017. The vac unit was a shared service with the wastewater department, which will also be noted for the same year for additional funding. And then the tandem, as Lauren indicated, the carryover if we move in at 2027. if there's anything further with those pieces of equipment.
Okay, to clarify then, that's a placeholder in case one of them isn't delivered in 26, is what you're saying.
Correct.
So the two tandems in 2026, one of them may disappear and actually come out in 27.
So we could potentially have, through your worship, the council. In 26 illustrative, we have two tandems on our capital budget because they could land in the fiscal year and need to be properly funded.
Right.
If one of them doesn't, then we will reserve that money and underwrite the one that comes in 27.
So there's a potential for savings in 27 because you didn't have to go back to the well.
But we need that, but it's budgeted in 26 because it might land.
Okay.
Just and to grow on that a little bit, yes, pending how tonight goes, staff will be bringing forward a report that will indicate given the time of the year and how we have to buy the chassis for the trucks, it's quarterly. So earlier this year, we were pushed to the third, fourth quarter of this year to purchase the truck. So ideally having a back-to-back year, if we purchase them, or at least go for tender or through our procurement, we go for tender this year, next year, there's a potential of having two trucks land side by side. Savings wise, I think we were indicated it would be next to nothing. However, chances are these trucks will be built together because they'll be the same truck. So if we move ahead with procuring one 2026 and 2027.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's just to make it very clear, we're talking two tandems, not three.
That's right.
All right. Anyone else, any questions on that? Or anything on the 26, 27 so far? Okay, then high level, the remaining, please.
2028, biggest piece of equipment we have is the grader. And then we have multiple small streets: Arthur, Donnelly, Duke, East, Elgin, Fifth, First, Fourth, Garner, Garnham, Hesh, Main, Old Chapel, Second Street, Sandytown, Short Street, Third Street, Boardwalk, West Street. Multiple gravel roads in our existing gravel program: Brown Road, Tollgate, and Green Line. And then our continual public works capital of sidewalks, road signs, guardrails, bridge and culvert, phase 1D of the Port Royal storm sewer, and our existing roadside brushing and hill management. 2029, another tandem. This is not one that is a placeholder. This one will come up for life cycle. Road construction: Brown again, Brown Road, Coyle, Eden, Bam Drive, Travis Street, Gray Street, and our existing gravel road procurement. Sidewalks, biggest one down here is phase 1E and F, the Port Royal storm sewer, which right now is 2.9 million. And our existing roadside brushing, and we have our roads need study review as well. 2030, multiple pickup trucks coming up for 195, and numerous multiple roads. The biggest one in here is Light Line at $3 million. We have to figure out what we're gonna do with that road. And I will be expecting that will be coming back in a multi-tiered capital program with preliminary work and multiple ways to fund it over a probably 3 to 5 year horizon.
All right.
On phases of capital asset completion. We also move into phase 2, the Port Royal storm sewer at 4.68 million. This is a $10 million public works year. We're going to need significant upper tier support from the province and the Fed, as well as council's endorsement for any future own source revenues to help fund any of these capital programs. (2031) numerous streets again: Addison, Burwell, Copper, Elizabeth, Arias, Hannah, Hurley, Milton, Newton, Pitt, Robinson, Shakespeare, Southeast, Strachan, Submariners Way, Tennyson, Victoria, Waterloo, Wellington, William, Ridgeline, Mitchell Road, Summers Road, Carson, Tollgate on the Blackbridge line, and our existing gravel program. And then we move into phase 3 of the Port Royal storm sewer. as you see, there's a trend. Once we get started on the Port Borough Storm Sewer project, it's gonna be a number of years where parts of the village will be under construction. But they'll also be getting 80-year asset life cycle that is currently aged out and failing in different sections.
Now,
And included in that will also include sidewalks, streets, and other work that will be included. So numerous of those streets above will also be captured in that. So some of this capital number will be reduced in future years as we work out the engineering work.
thank you. That's the point I was trying to get at. If we're successful and able to go ahead with some of the stormwater work, some of these streets will have been captured in a couple of.
Correct, your
prior.
worship.
All right. Okay.
However, if any of this stormwater isn't done, then we have to look at those streets as they come out of the cart based on life cycle age or condition.
That would be a real shame not to be able to correct the infrastructure underground.
You're absolutely right, your worship. Building and then ripping is not what we want to do.
No, it's a waste. You want to finish out 32 and the 36?
32 at the backhoe, road construction that year is Chute, Jackson, Tunnel, Ottergate, Shady Lane, and our existing gravel. And then the big phase 4, which is 11.7 million.
Wow.
That will likely be a significant debt call with Infrastructure Ontario when we get there, and likely will require some studies and own source revenues of different sources, as well as upper tier grant funding from the province and the Fed. We need significant help on the storm sewer. We cannot do it individually alone. Individual residents can't handle it, as well as the tax levy that has the BAM portion. Can't handle it, so we need significant help federally to do it. And we'll be looking for federal grant assistance from province and federal government in future applications. At one time, this was applied for under the Clean Water Wastewater Fund. Later was applied for under the DMAF, and we're hoping that maybe eventually there'll be another round of those two, or a new program will be created from the federal and provincial government. Moving into 33. Road construction that year, big one highlights, Pedal Line, Maple Grove, Springer Hill, Eden Line West, Mitchell. And then we move into phase 5 of the Port Borough Storm Sewer Program. And our existing capital program works. 2034, pickup coming up for life cycle. Sandytown Road resurfacing, Chapel, Tollgate, Vienna Line, our existing gravel, and phase 6 of the storm sewer at 3.6 million. Based on today's dollars. Moving to 2035, as council indicated, pretty light year for capital, as your worship asked how much we had for capital that year. As you see, there's lots of things that could get pushed back, reallocated around. A lot of this is going to come down to condition reports, aging, life cycle, tax levy, grant funding, how far we can push assets, and age conditioning reports as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Lauren, for that high level. Way out there. Does any member of council have any questions on the public works? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question. We've got 2 years now. We've pushed that storm sewer project back because we haven't received the funding. Can you just high level, you're looking at, some of these placeholders are 11 million. If we don't get funding or we choose not to do the work, what is the assets? What's going to happen with the asset? Is it absolutely mandatory that we do the work down there?
I'll give you my accountant hat, and I will then defer the overview of the municipal infrastructure to the CAO. It's our AMP, currently our backlog. It's some of it's past in a life cycle. Some of it has failed. It's clearly identified. We have made multiple grant applications. Like I indicated, we were runner-up right there the first time we made the application. Council has made the debt capacity available for this. This is the second project behind the Port Borough Storm secondary water line to fund this. It is the anchor in our AMP deficit. It literally is the biggest piece of infrastructure that this municipality will ever have to construct in the history of the municipality BAM. And it's needed for maintaining the life and well-being of the residents down there. I can let the CAO speak to the other side of what happens if we don't and such.
Thank you, Lauren. The only other thing I'll really add when it comes to grants and that sort of thing, right now, stormwater isn't something that, say it, stormwater really isn't a priority right now for granting agencies. They're looking at wastewater, looking at water infrastructure, which makes it difficult for us to get a stormwater grant. Stormwater, as the treasurer had mentioned, also includes all the above ground infrastructure. So we basically get like wholesale grant supported reconstruction of Port Burwell if we're able to get the money. The difficulty is getting the money in the first place. The way that we've dealt with this in the past has basically been spot repairs of the system as it comes up. The spot repairs of the system are not allocated for as capital items because they're unpredictable. As the system continues to get older, it is an old tile drain system. It should be worked on through the AMP, as the treasurer has mentioned, but as it gets older, issues, failures of the drainage system will likely become more frequent, but they are still not predictable. As these come up, we do have to operationalize these through the Public Works Department. So it is a risk to our system if we're unable to move forward. Given the amount of time that's passed since the original approval and where we are now, including cost inflation, et cetera, it's prudent for us to look at whether the way that the phases are currently set out is still reasonable, which is where we get into the 2026 and some of the pre-engineering work that we'll have, one of our engineers do for us to identify whether, we can still do phases, 1C, D, E, and F, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, or whether they have to be broken down further or they could be combined in different ways to make it more cost effective. But this project, the way that it happens, is going to have to be a confluence of funding mechanisms. We're going to need grant support. There's going to have to be the political will to have the road portion on the levy to some degree, which will obviously have a levy impact. And there is going to have to be an own source component for the drainage portion. This was something that council had originally received back in 2021. We've had no real further discussion on it after that because it was identified at the time as being potentially a significant burden for ratepayers down in the area. But it is something that we're going to have to look for because we don't have the debt capacity for it ourselves, and the levy can't bear it on its own. It's going to have to be something that we look at holistically. The other part of it too is, even though we have approximately $26 million in total debt capacity, 24.6, if you take out what's been allocated for the SCC, we have to be cognizant of what's coming in the water budget, which is the water line for the Port Burwell secondary. And the municipality's portion of that is going to be significant and will take up at least half of the remaining capacity. So we may not have as much debt capacity as we think we have by the time we ever get to constructing stormwater. So long-winded way of saying we need a confluence of good circumstances here. In the interim, we keep doing spot repairs as they come up, but those are unpredictable in and of themselves. So that's what I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you for that. Additional questions, comments? Okay, seeing none. Let's move on with water.
Page 58, water 2026, we have no capital procurement, and nothing to note. In 2027, we have a pickup truck and the vacuum, as Steve indicated, that was shared between Public Works. High level through the rest of the departments. 28, we have some existing BAM water system work. We have the BAM water lines, which is the other village. And we have the PBSS capital debt charge that's estimated at 16.8 million. In 2029, our renewable water financial plan, Richmond Well review, our water main reinstallation program, our BAM water system works, our booster upgrades, our SCADA computer system end of life, and a pickup truck. 2030 meter replacement head program. 2031 follow up to the meter head replacement programs, the second part of the other village, and a pickup truck that's shared between wastewater, water chamber rehab in 2032, and as well as 2033. 2034 existing water rehab work, Richmond well review, and the water financial plan, which is that time again, 5 years. 2035, we have nothing identified as of yet. And that is the 10-year on the water. Now, a few of the items are placeholders. They are moving. And they will likely, some of them will be dropped off in next year's capital budget. But they are placeholders now until we get some additional reports on a few rolling stock equipment.
Thank you. Any questions on the water budget? Lauren, just because they're placeholders, it does not preclude staff from seeking out any particular or potential grant opportunities. For example, water line replacement.
Absolutely not, your worship.
Thank
We
you.
previously had that in our 10-year budget previously, and we're able to make application. And both those two programs were successful, and they actually helped keep the water rates attainable without having to be incorporated in the future water rates to pay for the capital infrastructure. So that was the ICIP Green Stream.
Correct. Just thought I'd mention that.
You're welcome, your worship.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Move on with wastewater then?
Page 69, 2026 manhole rehab 26K, system equipment 21, air blowers 28, alarm communication 50K, and procurement of the water treatment land subject to some studies, some reports, and some development growth forecasts. So again, that is a placeholder. The expansion of the water wastewater plant might not happen, your worship, or it might happen.
Right.
That's another ball in the air, which could also impact our debt capacity. All these things are intertwined.
So just looking ahead, the 2027, the EA and the engineering, that's separate studies.
Correct, your worship.
All right.
In the 2027, we got the pickup truck share of water, back unit share of public works, communication tower share of public works, manhole rehab, pump station 7, station 8, as well as the two studies as you noted, the EA and the engineering. And that's for the water wastewater system expansion. 2028 system equipment again, SCADA, parking lot rehab, as well as the manhole rehab program. 2029, page 72, system equipment, manhole rehab, our 5-year renewal of the water financial plan, which is shared with the water department as well as wastewater, pickup truck, SCADA packs, and the wastewater transmission. The construction of the physical plant, which is actually the infrastructure inside the plant, which is 17.3. Again, subject to need, capacity, growth, constraints. Staff council will be seeing a couple staff reports coming up for the next 6 months, indicating need, use, capacity, and some growth forecasts as well. 2030 system equipment again, our continual manual rehaul rehab program, SCADA packs, and the second phase of the wastewater transmission plant equipment inside the plant.
Treatment plant. All right, now is that the equipment inside? The first one you suggested was the equipment inside.
Equipment inside and outside.
All right,
So that'd be interior equipment, holding equipment,
yes.
assets that have 20-year as well as assets that have 60-year.
All right, but you see, just, you got 29 and 30. Yeah, so you split it over 2 years.
Correct, your
All
worship.
right. Thank you.
2031 system equipment, pickup truck, SCADA, 150 manhole rehab program. Manhole again in 32, as well as the SCADA packs. 33 manhole SCADA packs again, and the force main chamber program. 34 force main chamber program again, manhole rehab. Again, we're back up to the 5-year renewal of the water financial plan. And nothing for 35. As you can see, there's a trend. Continual capital programs, regulations and reviews, and rollover of programs. So almost like clockwork. The biggest outlier is Are we building a new system,
Right.
adding capacity? Do we have a constraint?
Any questions, comments on the wastewater side? Okay.
Moving to page 80, Parks and Rec, we have the East Pier rehab, which is the engineering work, 50K. The utility corridor repair, which is the utility railway corridor, which we share with town of Phillipsburg, and the Port Royal Ball Diamond. The biggest one here to note is staff are indicating to bring back a staff report and a grant application for the Port Royal Ball Diamond in the next couple of months coming up. So we will make an application in the Trillium Fund in the growth program. Council has any questions on Parks and Rec in 26? Let me know.
So I do. Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, Counselor Emerson.
So do you anticipate the grant, the Trillium grant for the ball diamond to be successful? And that would be in the budget for this year coming, if so.
That would be probably a late 26, if not a late 27.
So to put it on its head, you're suggesting that there's opportunity for reserve fund plus 65 on the levy. If the grant's successful,
Then we say the levy.
that, yes,
You say-
that'll be carried forward for something else.
Correct, your worship.
Counselor Chilcott.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if this is the point where I would request a motion to pull the Eden Pavilion ahead to the 2026 budget as discussed back in October.
Well, we haven't quite got on the 27
Yeah.
budget yet, but
Well, it's
it could be.
26, so it's not
I
there.
see.
Let's just
Well,
finish the
just-
3 and then we'll.
I just need a point of clarification. You said something about the reserve fund being for the ball diamonds being used for something else.
Right here, it says Port Royal Diamond Reserve Fund is gonna utilize the reserve fund plus 65 on the levy to do
Okay.
those ball diamonds, right?
All right.
If the grant application, you want to submit it and it's successful, then you don't need to use.
Okay, that was the
That's the point. Well,
clarification.
you'll use a portion of it, but you know what I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
So those funds then can be reserved for something, another program or something.
Oh, right, now I understand. Thank
That's
you.
what I'm trying to.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
But there's placeholders here for that. Maybe we should go through 27, because you're right, let's talk about it, but let's.
It's not on 26 and that's
No,
where
it's
it
on
should be,
27,
right?
that's
So
what you'd like to do, and I get that. But I'm just trying to think, Eden Pavilion, you've got it identified, that's right out of the levy. Is there some place in here we can grab it? Parkland?
Through your worship, we could use the Parkland Reserve to fund it. If we bring forward PR 09, which is 100K,
Yep.
we could utilize the Parkland Reserve in 2026. Provided that we try to keep the cap within the current envelope of the Parkland, which is 108. Now, remember that reserve will likely have a bit of an increase at year end with the year end audited figures. So there could be some caveat for a little bit of ability to have some overrun.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just for clarification, the mid-year report had an unaudited balance for the Parkland Reserve, I believe it was 208, Lauren. So that number will increase because these are the audited year-end numbers for 2024. So there is a little bit more in that reserve fund than is identified in this report because they're, what we have mid-year are obviously unaudited numbers. We wouldn't have enough in that reserve fund to bring both pavilions forward, but we would have one to bring we'd have enough to bring the Eden one forward.
Thank you. Counselor Chilcott.
sorry. That still means that Richmond will remain in the 2027
Correct.
year and will be done.
Finding sufficient funds.
Depends on the council of the day.
Through your worship and to answer Councillor Chilcott, if we're successful with the ball diamond, that money that was set for Port Burwell could be reallocated there and underwrite that in 27.
Thank you.
If the stars align. looking to the clerk here for a process. Now, you were thinking about putting a motion forward at this point. Do you want to reserve? Sorry for the pun on words. Do you want to keep that for follow-up at the end for changes, or would you like that like as one omnibus type motion for any changes, or do you want to? do
I
it
can
now?
wait until the end and do them all at the same time.
But I think the clerk has made a note of it, that we've got that.
Yes, similar to previous years, I have a draft motion that's going to have bullet points of whatever we talk about here, if everyone's okay with that.
Do we have to make a motion for everything that we decide to, or is it
One
one?
at the end.
Just one at the end.
Yep.
If that works.
Well, that works because while we're on this, and since we jumped ahead a couple of paces, in anticipation of a glowing report on the paid parking, can we move forward on the beach and the pier? Because that money's supposed to be in a reserve fund there for that. Can we move forward and borrow some money from the capital infrastructure thing from Ontario, if I'm not saying it right, and move those forward? Because we'll easily have enough income from the paid parking to finance those capital improvements.
I think I understand what you're getting at. Are you suggesting that, and of course, we haven't received the year-end report for it yet.
No, I know, but you hear whispers, it's gonna
hear
be all
whispers.
glowing.
What is that, the idea that, that fund would be dedicated for repayment purposes for infrastructure?
That's exactly what I'm saying. So if we borrow the money, similar to last month and then use the funds from the paid parking to finance the payments for
Okay.
the capital expansion.
And that East Pier rehabilitation is scheduled for 2027.
Yeah, that's right. And then also, was there not, a change room upgrade?
Yep.
And can we finally do something with the Moby mats? Because that seems to be a continuing desire for the community.
Where,
It says Moby mats, somewhere in here. I forget what it's like in the budget.
docks this way.
27.
is it 27?
Accessibility.
Beach
I mean-
accessibility, okay. Where is the washroom upgrades?
It'd be under facilities, Mr. Mayor.
It's on facilities. Okay, that's why I didn't see it.
Just if I can, a quick point. I think the process here it'd be best to have the paid parking report come before council to identify exactly how much money can be borrowed. We're still finalizing those numbers based upon current IO rates. Ballpark right now suggests that, this year we've surplus 60 grand out of that program. And that is with some one-time costs. So we'd expect those one-time costs to not recur year over year. Conservatively, we can expect about $60,000 to be put into debt service. The number is somewhere between 850 and 950. We got to confirm that. In regards to the comments about the pier, now there's going to be some more information coming on this. Steve and I have been having some discussions with DFO about the pier. There is a component of the pier at the north end that is still in DFO ownership, which might impact the amount of money we actually have to put into the pier. So we're waiting on some information from them, but this number could be less, and I don't want to commit funds to something until we know what's coming from them.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I will modify my request to leave the pier or whatever, those rehabilitations for now, because that's nebulous, and move a motion forward to finance the other capital requirements for the beach. Because it's all encompassing. If the beach is better, then more people will use it, and then we'll have more funds to allocate towards beach improvements. And actually, might drive some business and some, I don't know, a little bit of economic opportunity for the village.
Just through you, Mr. Mayor, just one final point is that in talking with Lauren about this, we wouldn't feel comfortable reaching out to IO and pulling, say, a 20-year debt note for the beach unless council is willing to make a motion to make the paid parking program at the beach permanent, because we need a predictable revenue source. If we don't make it permanent and council, either this one or another council, decides that they want to suspend the program or terminate it, then that debt note has to be serviced by another means, and that's going to come off the levy.
and respectively through Ms. Mayor, I understand that, so we're gonna approve a capital budget and miss this opportunity.
No, I don't believe so.
Through your worship and to Counselor Emerson, tonight we're just approving principle. We can make additional capital amendments at the operating meeting from any staff reports up until then.
Okay, can we approve in principle the idea tonight then?
From a process point of view, I agree with what you're saying. But I also agree with what staff's saying. It's better to know what it is that we're looking for at the end of the time. I would rather have that discussion about the paid parking before we. Do you understand what I'm trying to get?
Yeah, I'm just trying to secure the idea this evening.
I think you and I are on the same page, Councilor Emerson, because I'm looking at using those kinds of funds as something to service.
Well, that was the idea, right?
Yep. Well, not really, but that was what was kind of evolved into. Lauren, please.
Through your worship to Counselor Emerson, the paid parking report will cover off how much we covered for this year's surplus, council's endorsement of continuing the program to fund said debt to service it, as well as the capital programs that could fund it over a 10-year, 15-year, 20-year debt note. That'll be outlined in the staff report as options for council to consider.
So at that time, we can amend the capital budget, or can we put a placeholder in tonight? I just want to make sure, that
We
those-
can amend then, which then come back in the revised capital, which council will pass in the control bylaw in April.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like a process and a point of order, you know?
Susan, unless you had a direct answer before I go to Susan, or Councilor Chilcott, I'm sorry.
It's through you, Mr. Mayor, just a process question building off of what Councilor Emerson and the treasurer are saying. I think the process going forward would be to receive the report, and then as part of the direction out of the paid parking end of year report would be to refer discussions about funding beach capital to the operating budget for further discussion, just so once we get through that report, council is willing to make it permanent, then we have what we need to have discussions about moving certain items off of the levy and onto debt.
Get the cart and the horse in the right order.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I would just like something in a resolution of some sort tonight in case I happen to have a traffic problem, or because I gotta zoom in on Thursday.
We don't have a traffic problem. Councilor Chilcott.
I'm not even sure if my question is relevant anymore, but
I'm sorry.
I was trying to find out what exactly Counselor Emerson wanted to keep in. We're looking at not keeping the pier, bringing that forward because we
know.
don't know what it is. But he wanted to get something in basically kind of in stone for tonight, and I was thinking it was the Moby mats.
Well,
And
Moby mats
possibly
and
the
the change room expansion or upgrades or whatever that is, because that is a bit of an issue, I think, on capacity, right?
Through your worship to Counselor Emerson and Counselor Chilcott, you could have multiple. You could have the pier, you could have the bathrooms, you could have the Moby mats. Not all that capital can be serviced 100% by the beach revenues. It's not 100% a la carte.
What he's trying to
No,
tell
but
you
is
you got
any of it-
choices.
You have
Is any
choices.
of it available? Because the Moby mats, they're 50,000 and you said something about 60,000 was currently available
No,
on the
it
beach.
could be. Well, he's saying it could be.
No, but I'm not saying to use the 60,000 as a one-time purchase. I'm saying to use that as a way to fund
Future
a
capitals.
a loan.
Okay, thank you.
So in principle, if council decides to make that a permanent program, you created a pool of funds to fund future capital needs for the beach or anywhere else.
Right? And they're not coming off the tax levy or anything like that. They're financed by people who come into town and pay for parking. So-
I mean, I've been after Moby mats for a very long time,
Understood.
so. I'd like
Understood.
to see that done.
There are, and I expect that'll be coming up in the report because there are cost implications of Moby mats. Looking at public works here, but we need to have that discussion too. I'm on board with you. I think. Thomas?
I think this will tie everything up nicely. We can put something in the resolution and I'll send my wording back over to Megan if there's general assent, that we can put something in the resolution that says, and that consideration be given to funding East Beach capital items using Infrastructure Ontario debt, subject to receipt of a report on the paid parking pilot program to come to council on November the 20th, 2025, and council establishing the paid parking program as a permanent revenue source for the East Beach. So that identifies.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Thomas. That's a conditional statement and a resolution I was kind of looking for. So.
Okay. Want to steam ahead on Parks and Rec?
Let's roll on. 2027, beach accessibility, Richmond Pavilion, East Pier Rehab, Strathfield Ball Diamond. We'll be looking at an application for that next year along with the Port Portal. There's 2 different streams we're looking at. As well as staff will be working with the local group here, as well as other non-government grant programs for ball. As council's aware, it was a big year for baseball in the country with the Blue Jays almost winning the World Series. So staff are anticipating an uptick in baseball activity, no different than 92-93 when the Jays went back to back. Thank you, Joe Carter. And we're anticipating youth enrollment and activity. So we'd like to get some grant applications lined up. We have a very active Mennonite baseball league here, and we'll be reaching out to them to see what we could do to help them expand their program and baseball offerings in the community. Eden Pavilion, which we've got the motion before to bring it to 26, as Councilor Chilcott indicated, and the beach shade structure, which can be one of the items the council considers a la carte. 2028 playground equipment program starts. Memorial Park Pavilion and the quality of play banner starting to come into the life cycle of those. 2029 playground equipment again. This is a multi-year program. Electric charging station. That'll be subject to what we have available, need, use, and at one time there was grant applications available for electric charging stations. So ideal location will be the beach. Or probably here, it all depends. I can let the CEO answer that. One time we discussed the beach event.
Yep. Thank you, Lauren. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So this discussion came up at one of the Waterfront Advisory Committee meetings about whether it was prudent to have an electric charging station at the beach. With a paid parking program, electric charging stations, depending on how many spaces they take up, may take spaces away out of the parking program. And the beach is very seasonal, so it's heavily used mid-June through mid-August. Based upon the data that we have out of the pilot program, there's approximately 8 or 9 weeks where we get heavy usage, and that peters out in the shoulder seasons. And then obviously winter, there's very, very little use. The discussion that came out of the Waterfront Advisory Committee was about whether that was the right location for a charging station, or it would be better for a facility that's used year round. So it may be something where, you know, a library benefits for it better than the beach would, or if this building would benefit more, particularly as we're looking at expanding it next year. So we wouldn't, if council's interested in changing the location, the time to have that discussion is now. We wouldn't change the item.
It's not till 29.
No, but we're in the budget meeting. So if council wants to discuss this item at this budget, it's right now. And we can change the location, or we can just let it ride and discuss it at another year and let another council deal with this item.
I'll venture forth and say my comments. I would agree with the Waterfront Advisory Committee. I think if you were to put an electric charging station down at the beach, you leave it into a bit of a precarious spot, and copper is a fairly attractive commodity to walk away. I would rather it was be in some more heavily trafficked area that might actually preserve its life. Just my comments. So, but again, noting that this is a 2029 investment, I think we've got time. I agree with Councillor Froese.
Okay.
Put this one off.
Well, maybe through you, Mr. Maybe put a motion or something in the motion, investigate a more appropriate spots for the charging station.
Innocuous, but we could do that. Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
Staff advice. I didn't mean tonight, Steve, but if you can offer your two.
No,
cents.
absolutely. I mean, through your worship there, I agree with you. There's multiple spots to put it. There's a few things to discuss. Generally, a lot of charging stations are pay per use, so it's obviously an option if council wants to fund this fully or it funds itself. So these are things that can be brought forward in the staff report in the upcoming, and we can adjust it for even next year. I can bring it forward. Bring forward location ideas, costing, update a few items so council has the full ticket when they make the decision. Later
Thank
on.
you for offering that way, Steve, because I would expect nothing less than a full report coming forward. In fact, even if you looked at what the current county policy is on their charging stations, which are pay as you go. I'm not sure it's incumbent upon the ratepayer to be paying for someone's electricity use. Councilor Chilcott.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if the electric charging station is moved from the beach to the Stratfordville Hall or a library of some kind, would it still be under Parks and Recreation?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, we wouldn't look to change how the item is allocated. If it moves here, I mean, there are recreation components, for instance, so we keep the same item designation. And we likely do the same thing if it moved to a parking lot for a library, but that, I guess, would be pending council's decision, subject to a report from the manager of Public Works.
Okay, so going back then to Councilor Emerson's comments and perhaps attention, is it someplace or something that you want to include under a bullet point for a motion tonight? That's all I'm asking. It's under, it's a placeholder, come on, 2029, but is it something, I would like to see a staff report come back on location and operation, how it will function. So whether it happens at capital budget tonight or down the road, I don't care.
Your worship, maybe just wait for the staff report and then if the location
Yeah.
has
What?
to be changed then.
But a motion here would call it.
Well, a
Direct
motion to
staff.
call for a staff report would
That's
be
what
great.
he's asking.
I've drafted another and that a staff report be presented in 2026 for further discussion for locations of PR06.
Okay.
I can live with that. Okay, thank you. So we left off at 2030?
2030 playground equipment, again, that's the
Mhm.
multi-year program. 31, more playground equipment, multi-year. 32 again, playground equipment, multi-year again.
Right.
33 playground equipment again, multi-year. 34 playground equipment again, multi-year. 35 Memorial Park Pavilion. I will say the caveat to some of the costs in the Parks and Recs. Now that council has passed the homogeneous DC, you will see in future years, some of this will be EC'd, tax and reserved and levy. We just have to assess what is the growth component of the capital program for each of those items.
Correct.
And Sis Council is where we have collected a few homogeneous DCs already since adoption. So money is trickling in and development is on board with our homogeneous DC.
Just to clear up some confusion under the 2035, what Memorial Park? Which Memorial Park?
Port Burwell.
So you're looking at, there's a potential ahead here of Memorial Park Pavilion 250 plus another 50. For why?
That's the NI, that's the steel.
So you're looking at 50,000 for a steel roof?
You have this discussion more.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So that item, if you go to the actual, just refer to the capital item sheet, replace roof and facade steel on the Stratfordville and Vienna Memorial Park pavilions. So there are 2 pavilions included in that item.
Real inflationary numbers on steel,
Placeholders.
yeah, placeholders. That's 2035, but okay.
And the other Memorial Park was PR 12, which is 2028,
Yes,
which is Port Burwell. So,
yes.
sorry, your worship.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Any questions on Parks and Rec?
All right, let's go to facilities. 2026, we have the facility audit, council where it was in the 2025. Those funds have been reserved. They will be funded out of the reserve in 2026. Out of the facility reserve for 60K. We have the SEC expansion to 3.6. The Port Royal Lighthouse is there, 1.5 as a placeholder, grant dependent. Port Royal East Beach bathroom expansion, 75K reserve fund. And the Marine Museum for 75K.
What is in
Parking lot.
parking lot? Thank you.
Any questions on 26 facilities?
Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. The Marine Museum, Steve, I was just wondering, is that internally sourced or are we outsourcing that? So I know we fixed that big monster of a,
Yeah, through your worship.
Paver.
No, we didn't actually
oh,
fix it this year. Yes, so we had some unsettling subgrade under the parking lot in the springtime. All we did was block it off in the springtime and we'll let it settle dry out. So moving forward with this capital item, this would be public works staff removing the subgrade and then bringing in a contractor to pave the surface. So it's kind of a two-part, but it'll be mostly done in-house, the granular material, and then finished by a contractor that will have to go out to an RFQ.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any additional questions?
'27, Public Works Yard Wash Bay and the Strathfield Fire Hall generator. 2028, Port Royal Beach washroom expansion, 500K. Strathfield parking lot and the Public Works salt dome cover and back. 2029, Strathfield Library ramp, 25K. It is reserved. However, we will see if there's any sort of enabling accessibility grants at that time. We have been successful with those in the past, the councils where they have been, we've actually received in the last 10 years. So we've actually done quite well with that application. 2030, the SEC parking lot. 2031, Port Royal Library roof. 2032, Public Works generator and the SEC generator. 33, no items identified. 34, no items, and 35. Again, some of those items might be pushed around, move forward, as indicated in the last 3 years.
Any questions on the facilities from 27 onward?
I will say this, your worship and council, some of these items and additional is subject to the findings of the facility audit report next year.
That includes the generators?
I'll leave that to the CEO.
Yeah, so the generators would be included in the mechanical and electrical components. So they would be part of the facility envelope that's looked at. Fortunately, due to the staff capacity constraints, we weren't able to get to the RFP and have it issued this year, but we'll look at having it out early next year, and the generators will be a component of that.
Okay, I guess what I was getting at is that, what is the life expectancy of these generators? Like, hopefully they're more than 5-10 years.
The fire chief's saying 10 on a few of his.
I realize that we depend on these things, but they're still serviceable and functional. Really? So these are placeholders. I get that.
Placeholders for life cycle.
Sure. Placeholders. Any questions from anyone else on facilities? Okay, let's move on then with planning and development.
Page 102, plan development 2026, zoning bylaw review, 45K. 103, follow-up of the zoning bylaw review, 25K. 104, 2028, nothing. 2029, nothing on the board. 2030, the official plan review, 40,000. 2031, follow up to the official plan review, generally the hangover, there's always a hangover for the two studies, 15K. 32, the zoning bylaw review, 35. 33, no public planning items. 34, the official plan review for 30K. And 35, the official plan review for 45K.
You identified there was something that Mark caught on planning.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just, it's on one of the summary sheets, actually. It doesn't impact the levy at all. It was just that we got a late change order, providing the financial information for what the 5-year zoning bylaw comprehensive review was going to cost. And Arcadis advised approximately $70,000 over 26 and 27. You'll note on one of the summary sheets that in 2027, there's $25,000 that's levy based. I believe it comes up on page 2 or 3. The only thing Mark flagged was that the 2026 component, 45,000, doesn't show up, but that component is reserved, so there's no levy impact.
Thank you for that clarification. Does anyone have any questions on the planning side? Okay, then the balance of the report is based on capital information sheets for the individual
Each of
projects.
them are their project capital code sheets.
Yeah.
At this time, the capital, we've run through the high level of capital budget sheets. If there's anything that you want to ask about each of the sheets or any previous departments or go back, this is the time. Otherwise, staff will be looking for the resolution as well as the amended resolution from the clerk.
Okay, council, what's your pleasure? Everybody good? I guess the question is there any particular information sheet or something that you want to draw attention to? Or shall we go back to the main resolution and see where we go? Is there anything in the previous departments that anyone wants to revisit? Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Just one question in regards to water. Sorry to put Ed on the spot. I'm curious as to is there any budget implications to the switching to Aqua?
I can take that one, Mr. Mayor. A number of the placeholders that have been identified will continue on year over year. Part of the Aqua transition is that they evaluate our facilities and identify any short-term capital needs that may have to be handled prior to or during transition. They flagged nothing for us. Bayham has a very good track record of maintaining its water wastewater facilities, and including operations, so there are no immediate capital impacts. What I will note, and you'll see this as we get closer to actually formalizing the agreement, there is a requirement that Aqua will be providing to us any capital recommendations prior to August 31st in a given calendar year, so we can consider those as part of our capital budget program. But like I've mentioned, they haven't identified any 3 to 5 year time horizon capital that we need to work on based upon their review, and that will be included in the agreement that council considers later this month.
Anything else? Megan, please.
Just before I read it out, just to confirm, when we were talking about the Eden Pavilion, did we say to fund it from the Parkland Reserve?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So the motion I have is that report TR 1925 regarding 2026-2035 capital budget draft be received for information, and that council approve in principle the 2026 to 2035 capital budget presented with the following edits. Bring forward PR 09 to 2026 funded by the Parkland Reserve, and that consideration be given to funding East Beach capital items using Infrastructure Ontario debt subject to receipt of a report on the paid parking pilot program to come to council on November 20, 2025, and council establishing the paid parking program as a permanent revenue source for the East Beach, and that a staff report be presented in 2026 for further discussion for locations of PR 06.
Yep. All right, council, what do you think? Councilor Emerson?
I'll move that motion.
Okay, we have a mover. You'll second that? Any discussion, further discussion? Okay, then let's call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Brings us to section 4 bylaw, the confirming bylaw. Need a mover and seconder for the following, that confirming bylaw number 2025-063 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Deputy Mayor Weiser will move. Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That is carried, which brings us to the adjournment motion that the council meeting be adjourned at 8 p.m. Mover and seconder. Councillor Pros will move. Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you for joining us tonight and thank you for taking an interest in local governance. We are adjourned.